Welcome to NSIC Weekly's 2024 Spring Update. Oh, have we got a lot for you on this installment. Thought I'd upgrade things a little bit by wearing this hard to find, one of a kind, high quality tee promoting this dog and pony extravaganza. Hi again, everybody. My name is Tom Frederick, the elderly play-by-play voice of the University of Sioux Falls, the man on the throne, the big kahuna of the pod, is D2Football.com's Northern Sun Conference columnist, Matt Witwicky. And it's been a long time since we've graced the airwaves together, Whit. How is 2024 treating you and yours here in early May?
Well, I can see we're no different than when we left off. You're already getting your phone pinging and all that stuff. We're on our first show of 2024. We've already got that going. But by the way, give everybody a better look at your shirt. This is our, as the kids say, this is our merch. Why don't you see if you can get it in the shot? That'd be great. Yeah, it even has D2 there. We may go ahead and kind of have some of this merch going later in the year. We got some more of those made. They are full dry fit, ink sublimated inside of there. The kids know what I'm talking about when I say that. And we may do those for like a fundraiser later in the year or something like that if you make a donation for the show. But to get back to your original question before I was sidetracked by your pinging phone, I've been doing good. Kids are, real busy doing stuff. I know that, for you, if we go ahead and we follow you on Twitter, which I think all of our audience probably does, they may have unfollowed you because of all the, updates that you have continually about shooting free throws that they don't care about. But in the event, they still have interest in that. You've kind of gone ahead and dipped down a little bit in your free throw shooting of late. Tell us a little bit about that.
I wish I could tell you why the charity tosses aren't falling like they used to. I've been logging this for about 2 years now. I think I started in April of 22. It's more than 21,000 makes out of better than 24,000 attempts. That's a lot of misses, but that's still a lot of makes. 86, 87%. But the numbers are trending the wrong way, truthfully. I don't know why. I really think a dedicated rebounder might help. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would rather probably take a sharp stick in the eye than go ahead and do that on a daily basis with you and watch you foot fault over the line as you shoot your free throws. You know what, though? You're going out to California and in the next few days here. And I think Rick Barry lives out there, doesn't he? Maybe you could meet up with him. I mean, you guys are similar in age. Have him go ahead and rebound for you. Maybe you rebound for him. How would that work?
I'd say he's about 10 years older than I am. He has a lot less hair than I do when he's not wearing his toupee. And there's no way on God's green earth will you catch me shooting free throws underhanded. So that's a hard pass on my behalf.
Do you think that you could shoot as good as you normally do in your 86, 87%? Or would that drop about 10 points just on the mere nervousness that you'd be shooting with him?
If I shot regular with Rick Barry, I bet you I'd be about where I am normally. But if I went to underhand, it would be ugly.
This might need to become our quest on the show, getting some video with you and Rick Barry.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. All right. We haven't blessed the NSIC faithful with any content for probably 5 months now. Plenty has transpired between season's end and the completion of spring ball, which wrapped up for the most part end of April. In the month of April, there were scrimmages and, believe it or not, some games between Northern Sun squads, as well as some out-of-conference matchups. A number of key players have moved on to a different level, or they've jumped into the portal. There's been coaching movement in the league, and replay is now coming to the NSIC, and Witt, for one, thinks that replay is about time.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a little while, but as you know, I'll have a few things to say about it. Let's if we go ahead and we take a look at our spring graphic that we have right here, buddy. I think that we had an interesting list of games here for the first time that the NCAA really allowed this on a big basis outside of that little COVID, feel free to, put your toe in the water against another team kind of thing. And I really was impressed with the Northern Sun more than any other conference in D2. Really went ahead and took advantage of this. A lot of it's because not everybody plays each other in a given year because of the amount of teams in the conference. So that's a nice thing. And not having Bemidji and Duluth, for example, play every year, that needs to be changed going forward. But, the fact that they didn't, you see all these matchups are not ones that you're going to see this season. But, we've got 4 right away on the 13th and another one midweek on the 17th, 2 more on the 20th. And then I'm going to shame the 3 teams, Minot, Mary, and Southwest Minnesota State, who didn't find a game. We won't shame you. We just won't talk about the game because you didn't play one. But, Tom, when you take a look at this list here, some of them look pretty intriguing, don't they?
Did Mary, Minot, and Southwest try to find an opponent, or don't you know?
I don't know, but at the same time, I can still give them a hard time about it.
So, but you shouldn't shame them. Come on. In 2024, you got to watch what you say. You have to be politically correct with.
That's not really this show, but okay.
All right. Let's open by reviewing one of those games on April 13th. And 2 playoff teams here. Didn't Northwest make the playoffs last year? Or did they get aced out? They got aced out last year, didn't they?
Well, okay, yes, we will have plenty. That's Tom Frederick, for those in the comments, who is seemingly trolling, not trolling, the Bearcats, who didn't make the playoffs for the first time in about 20 years.
Yeah.
But Augustana obviously did, won a playoff game as well over Mankato. Yep. Augustana, we're going to go ahead and show a few photos from this action here.
Well, they went down to Maryville into the belly of the beast. And what did your scouts tell you how the Vikings fared against the Bearcats?
Yeah, the immediate word back was, first off, Augustana, let's be really honest, is not the team that they were a year ago. They've graduated some key skill players, some key guys at the line of scrimmage offensively. It's really the offensive side of football I'm speaking of more than anything. And at quarterback, obviously, we're moving, from Casey Bauman, who's whether he's going to get a chance in the NFL, that's obviously he's going to get a look there. And or are we really talking about him maybe going to Canada, because that was a bit of the word as well. But we've got Thomas Skolton here. We've got some other guys kind of competing for that starting job. And Northwest Missouri State was able to get the best of them up front. They're always known for having a great defensive line. And last year, Northwest was kind of in the midst of building up that next great defensive line. But Augustana, the word was that they were able to hit some plays down the field. This is Matt Francis, if the numbers are correct, going ahead and getting loose for a long one. But overall, I want to congratulate and give Augie a little bit of kudos for going out. They went and found a game here at the last minute. They were going to be playing, against Black Hill State and hosting them. Black Hill State wasn't able to be able to make the trip and accommodate that at the last minute. And they went out and found a game that not a lot of people are really trying to go find in Maryville against a storied squad like this. And that said, I think that goes to speak a little bit to where Jerry Olszewski's trying to take this program. The same reason that they're scheduling a South Dakota State, during the year. They're looking to kind of go ahead and really raise their bar. And I think that's, something that can be appreciated. Here's a shot with Coach OJ. By the way, their yellow always pops. You notice that in pictures? I've always noticed that when I'm taking photos. That yellow uniform really pops. But
I believe it's gold, actually, but that's okay.
Okay, same, yeah. Todd Sturdy here with him, the offensive coordinator from Northwest Missouri State. But no matter how Augustana did during this trip, Sioux Falls went down there in 2001, I think it was, and also locked horns with Northwest Missouri State and Maryville. And it's one of those things where you kind of find out where you're at. And that's the whole idea about playing somebody else during the spring window, is sometimes you don't find out enough when you're just going ahead and going against your group all the time.
Yeah, I think most coaches welcomed this seeing another team opposite you on the line of scrimmage as opposed to butting heads against your own guys day in and day out through the spring,
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's go ahead and look. What else do we have on the slate? What's next? I think you know a little bit about that one.
Yeah, we went to a warm and windy Bob Young Field on April 13th. It was like 80 degrees, wind from the south at about 30. And it was a glorified, flag football affair, wouldn't you call it that? There was not a lot of tackling being done between these two teams, but I think each of them was happy to play someone other than the number one offensive USF against the number 2 defense of the Cougars, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, here's a shot that we got early. Boy, speaking about colors that pop, kind of contrasting here. I like that. Glow over here holding court a little bit before the contest, letting the guys know that, we don't necessarily need to tackle guys 2 yards out of bounds and stuff like that. And just kind of laying some ground rules down before the contest. Here is a picture of you and I, me getting the best of you, of course. And that is I don't know exactly what happened in this photo because I look much fatter in this photo than I am fat. So I'm not sure what Berger did when he took this photo. We're going to have a little conversation about that. Maybe some cropping would be in order next time. But getting back to the action, we've got USF with the ball right here. And what were some of your thoughts when you saw Sioux Falls with the football? Since you and I were there, this was minutes away from where we live.
I was impressed with the new running back. They have Christian Nash, a transfer from Northern Illinois. He's out of the Omaha area. There he is right there. Big guy. Runs downhill, runs between the tackles quite well. He was a guy that stood out to me on offense.
He did for me as well. When he got through that first level, Tom, you notice that he's got some home run ability. And, the Cougars have some backs who do a great job of running between the tackles right now and always pushing forward for yards. I think he offers them just kind of a little bit more of that guy to be able to break away. What did you think of this guy when you saw him?
Oh, he's a stud. Tall, big, strong, has a hose for an arm, quick release.
You remember his name?
Strand is the real deal.
Yeah, Jack Strand. A lot of people thought that maybe he would, end up in the portal or something like that because of, all his measurables and all the stats and everything else. Because we live in a world where that's always something that's going to be kind of mentioned or considered, Tom. But I was so impressed with how quickly he gets rid of the football.
Yep.
He goes from the run fake to the ball being released faster than anybody I think I've seen it in the conference. I was really impressed by that.
Big and strong too.
Yeah. And I thought, the action between the teams ended up being about even. I think they both scored one time or something like that. In the kind of the real gameplay-ish backside of that game. They did a whole lot of scrimmaging. I remember it felt like we were there for hours, like 3-4 hours. But I thought that USF was having a hard time not having somebody open for him because he finds people and they get open and his receivers make plays. But at the same time, I thought USF's pass rush was easily better than last time I saw them, which wasn't a terribly high hurdle. And I mean, I know that Glow and company will get a chuckle out of that. But I think on the other side, I thought Moorhead played decent defense as well. USF, I thought, had more success on the ground in that one than they did through the air. They weren't really able to connect on anything down the field per se, more in the short game. Is that how you saw it as well?
Yeah, they haven't got somebody to stretch the field at this point. We haven't seen them do it anyway. Maybe they have someone capable of it, but they've not been able to go vertical the way they need to open things up offensively.
Sure. Well, let's go ahead and look back on the slate. We don't have quite as many images. Some of these we don't have any images for provided, whether social media or from the team. But let's move to that next game. What do you got next?
I've got from the GLIAC, former NSIC member, Upper Iowa, went up to Winona, and Coach Bergstrom's Warriors hosted the Peacocks.
Yeah, you can see that here, and we've got the purple against the kind of that light blue color. By the way, I always, for years, you know this, I have liked their uniforms better than just about anybody else in the conference. I've always thought that uniform combo that they had, especially when they incorporate some of that navy, was always good looking. But the word was from there is that Winona did get the best of them. So as we're taking a look here, keep in mind there's also a new offensive coordinator in Winona that we're going to talk about here a little bit later. But they're going to be looking obviously to be a little bit more productive than they were offensively a year ago. They were, kind of middle of the pack, well, actually a little bit further back than that. And, had some turnover troubles and things of that sort. So this looks like a good start for them. As they have a little bit of turnover there with the coaching staff, but we're gonna save that for a separate section where we talk a little bit more about that. Let's move to the next game if we could. What do we have next year, my friend?
Just like Augie and Northwest Missouri, which was an NSIC MIAA showdown, you had Concordia St. Paul against the Lopers of Nebraska Carney. How'd that one turn out?
Yeah, I reached out to the Golden Bears to see if they had any images from that. I also looked on social media. It's almost like this game was not played with any media there. Maybe there wasn't. And that in mind, we don't have any images from it. The word was that per the Carney people on our message forum, they said Nebraska Carney looked real good and got the better portion of the day. I have not seen or heard anything otherwise from that. Concordia obviously is going to be looking to continue to work through things at different spots and kind of iron them out. They didn't have the season they wanted to last year, but I applaud them for going and finding a game like this. I believe it was in Council Bluffs, in between the two schools, so a neutral site game at that.
And neither one of them had to drive the entire length of the way. It's a pretty far piece, so to speak, from the Twin Cities to Carney, Nebraska, out there in western Nebraska. So the Omaha, Council Bluffs area, that's a happy medium, I guess.
Totally. So then we had the midweek game. That kind of threw everybody off a little bit. A Wednesday game, and it rained the days previous, and the thought was they're not even going to be able to get this in, but they were able to get the game in. So kind of a weird deal there, but they had this. This was on local television, My 9, I think it was, up in Duluth, Mr. Duluth guy, but. I kind of thought that UMD would get the better of them here. You got Brandon, no longer there. Other key players that are gone, whether it's running backs, receivers, and so forth, offensive line, defensive guys are missing. Bemidji definitely got the better of this, 41-27. They were not keeping score, if you know what I mean. Bemidji was able to hit on 3 plays of, I want to say 60 yards or more through the air. So I think Duluth, this is the reason you play these kind of games. Duluth found out, hey, we got to really firm up the back half there because that's not going to work. And keep in mind, Bemidji is also breaking in, new guys, whether it's quarterbacks and so forth, and trying to figure out exactly who they're going to be. And they were able to put up 41 points and what was probably the equivalent, I would say, of about a 3-quarter contest. So a little bit concerning. And now keep in mind, for Bemidji, we didn't have Mr. Waljasper out there. For Duluth, my fault. And then on the other side, they didn't have Mr. Hansen. Was it Marcus Hansen, the D end, who All-American player? So those type of the All-American types were not playing in this game. But I was most impressed with Sam McGath, who is the new starting quarterback, seemingly. They used him a lot in Wildcat in the past, Tom, when they didn't want to run alt. And I thought he threw the ball very well, complete, I think, his first 4 passes, and they were kind of off and going from there. So good stuff if you're Bemidji. And I mean, Duluth was scoring as well. Defensively, I think they need to firm things up a bit.
I'm the type of guy who I still look at the newspaper. I read the agate type. I like to see the transactions. You mentioned Casey Bauman of Augie getting a look in the NFL. He signed a free agent contract with the LA Chargers. You just mentioned Brandon Alt, not going to be in Bemidji for the first time in a decade. But I haven't read or seen anything with that he's got a look at another level, whether it be in Canada, the NFL, the UFL, the XFL, right, whatever. What's the latest on Brandon Alt? Can you tell me? Do you know anything?
You know what? I have not seen anything new either. Here's what happens with some of the guys is they end up having a few different options and they want to kind of take their time to weigh them out or find out a little bit more about them. I wouldn't doubt that that's something going on with Alt. Now, Alt's got kind of the knee situation that he had been working through for years. No different than Mr. Penix, for the Washington Huskies in the NFL. It's not something that's going to help him out, obviously. But we would like to see him get a shot for sure. And, if you go ahead and you take a look at, if I took even a look a year ago, when he was, going ahead and having a great year, they're losing Sage Booker. They're losing Muhammad at running back. I mean, right off the bat, and Del Duncan Busby actually just signed a deal in Canada. Or I should say he got drafted. So I'm assuming he's going to sign. So, Duluth is losing some guys who were a big part of their success a year ago for sure. Or I mean, Bemidji. I keep saying Duluth. I'm sorry, Duluth fans.
You mentioned getting drafted in Canada. This isn't the 60s, Witt. This isn't 70s, Vietnam. Del Duncan Busby got drafted, and he goes to Canada? Is he? All right.
Let's show your age. That's perfectly fine.
Let's continue on here on the 20th of April. A couple of Nebraska schools from the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference, Shadron State, went up against Wayne State from Wayne, America.
Yeah, heard, Wayne got a little bit of the better in this one. Wayne sometimes is one of those teams that when you've got, whether it's Bemidji and Duluth, who have been doing very well lately, and Mankato, Wayne State is not trying to take a backseat to any of those teams. And they're going to be a team, I think, that people are going to have to look out for this year. They're going to be good at the line of scrimmage. They're plenty young at skill positions and things like that. You see everybody here is wearing the what do we call the gladiator helmets? Is that right?
Guardian.
I knew there was something like that. Yes.
And I don't like the color black of those things. I really don't.
Yeah, I think for whatever reason, I kind of like the white ones a little bit better. But I've always been a fan of this. If we can lessen concussions, I think that's always a great thing too. But this game makes a whole lot of sense though, because these teams are rivals. So this is the kind of game that they're going to try and line up in the future with non-conference. So, I mean, I love to see these kind of games where they're not in the same conference, but let's play each other. I applaud them for doing that.
All right. Last but not least, you and I were both at Harrisburg High School on April 20th, a week later than the USF Moorhead game that was played in the 80s. This was 52 degrees with a strong northwest wind. I about froze my keister off. There we go, right there. What you were trying to show how strong and tough you were, and me, I'm shaking in my boots. My teeth were rattling here.
Yeah, this was right before you tapped out, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
This is it was not even that cold. And I mean, you're dressed like you're in the Iditarod or something. And anyway, as we're taking a look at this photo, I had somebody bring this to my attention that it eerily resembled someone else over the course of history.
Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber.
I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Yeah. So if somebody ever stops you and asks you,
Yeah.
But getting back to the action once again, we've got this was a real game.
Yes.
So Mankato definitely was looking at it this way. They came out, Hayden Eckerd was out there at quarterback, played, I would say, the better part of the first 3 quarters. Does that sound about right, Tom?
Yeah, I bailed at the end of 3, and he was still there. Yeah.
Okay. Now the Mavs didn't have Trayshawn Watson. His top wideout was not playing in this one. Guy who's battled injury last year, and but they did have Sam Backer, number 24, the guy that I have said it reminds me a little bit of a kind of a next version of a Max Mickey type player. And he was a redshirt freshman a year ago. And they also had Sheen Butler-Lawson playing in this game. If I go ahead and I kind of move through, some photos as we speak, I'm going to say that he probably carried 10 to 12 times. I would say Backer maybe the same or a few more. Neither really got loose a whole lot. Butler-Lawson probably got a 30-yard carry. And then the rest of it, Mike Schmidt's group, I thought played them very tough defensively. We had a 7-6 ball game going into the half. And on the last play of the halftime, before half, the Mavericks kicked a field goal to make it 10-6. It was that kind of contest. And, going into this, I probably figured that the Mavs were going to be able to find a way to win and maybe win comfortably, all things considered. Now, that said, we also had on the other side, early in the game, the Wolves were able to have some success running the football. But then they were also able to have a little bit of success in the air. Mr. Vespo here was able to, make some nice throws. He did have one where he went against his body at the goal line where it kind of rolled out the other way and was late on the throw that ended up being a pick, kind of right in front of us when we were at the goal line. But I think that's the thing with Northern. I think they need to be a little bit more explosive offensively in the passing game. You could kind of see they're going to miss not having Dakota Larson. They're going to miss, obviously, not having Dwaylen Ingram. But I thought defensively, I thought they looked very good. Mike Schmidt's going to call the defense this year, and I thought they were very up for that. Now, the Mavs, I thought were able to run the ball better than they were able to throw the ball. They didn't show me much throwing the ball down the field, especially. I think in a perfect world, after the bad outing that they had to end the season last year at Augie, I think Coach Hoffner, who's in the back right of that photo, actually, I think that he would have really liked to have seen them be more successful offensively. But you know what? Let's be real frank. The Wolves came to play. On this run here, we've got 26 Carter Henderson, who is a redshirt freshman, who showed a lot getting her around the edge for about a 20-yard score here. But, we've got some news we'll talk about with the Mavs here in a moment. That's within this last week. That's going to be kind of important. But before we get there, I do need to mention that.
I recognize. I got the number of that kicking net that took me down.
So for our loyal fans, just after halftime, the Wolves were coming back because we were walking around on the sidelines quite a bit, and they were coming on back to the sideline, and you apparently were going to try and make room for them and took 2 steps back, tumbled onto this thing, fell back, hit your head. You got put in concussion protocol for a little while. They helped you up out of sympathy. I was too busy laughing, of course, and you can't blame me. But notice on the bar on the left-hand side, it's bent there. Do you see what you did?
Huh.
Yeah, I think that you done broke their kicking net.
I got a couple of texts from people up in the stands who was a very well-attended game for both Northern and Mankato's purposes. But I got a text from somebody saying, "Hey, that turf looked pretty thick. It took you down." I said, yeah.
Yes.
And then an orthopedic surgeon texted me as well and said, "Do I need to come down and give you a once over?" I said, "No, I'm good. Thanks."
So other than you being cold and having concerns about that, what were your takeaways being in attendance for this at this neutral site contest?
I was really shocked that they treated this as a true game. I mean, they were out there hitting hard. They were bringing the lumber. Quarterbacks were getting taken down. It's not like they were wearing skirts or dresses out there or put them in red and say hands off the QB. They went after him like it was a full-fledged game, and I kind of enjoyed that in the spring.
Yeah, and since it was the last one of the bunch for us, I thought it was kind of a fitting end. And by the way, I didn't mention it. Second half, Mankato, comes back out with their first string offense, looking to kind of really set the tone. They marched the field, kicked a field goal, then got another field goal after that, and then fourth quarter. I want to say early fourth quarter, they scored a touchdown. The Wolves weren't able to muster a lot of offense in the second half. And they went to Max Thompson, I want to say maybe mid-third quarter in the game, second string quarterback, local guy, Washington High School. And that was about it. But I think it was good for both teams to kind of see where they were at with things for sure. And in many of these other contests as well. Now, at the tail end, speaking of tapping out, there's our guy Tukes, who was on the show a year ago, the Vox there for the Wolves. He was up in the box, I think, almost the entire game because of how cold he was. Not that the hat tells that story at all. Here he is with Jason Glasgow and Mike Schmidt, coaches, obviously, on the Northern staff. But I enjoyed the fact that we had some of these games. It really got me kind of my football fill. And then I think this will be able to hold me over for a little while after this.
Speaking of fill, last year you got your fill of pizza over at Boss. You and Brandon took on the Boss Hog Pizza Challenge and failed miserably in September. Boss's Pizza and Chicken, the exclusive sponsor of the NSIC Weekly podcast, and the folks that own and operate Boss's Pizza and Chicken, the Seafeld family, always looking to expand. And I guess there's some news about our favorite sponsor here, Witt.
There is Jeremy Seafeld, who is kind of the owner-operator for them. Obviously, he's been having us try and help out the best we can to spread the word about Bosses. And by the way, I've eaten already, but that makes me hungry just looking at it. Now, that said, he said on the Facebook machine yesterday that they are looking to expand to Aberdeen and Watertown. They already have places, hotels picked out to be able to have a sports bar environment, along with pizza, of course, and beer and all that other good stuff. And all they need is people to go ahead and be franchisees. So I chatted with Jeremy today, actually, and said, hey, tell me a little bit more about this so we can go ahead and get it on out to our fan base, people up in Aberdeen and so forth. This sounds like it would be a pretty good opportunity. Now, Jeremy Seafeld has this information on his Facebook page, but you can also, if you're interested, you can go on over to their website and be able to see their page where you're able to put in your franchise info and all that. Tell them if you do, tell them that the guys at D2 sent you. And told you about it. But no, Bosses is also got a new location, Tom, since last year in Okoboji, Iowa. So growing the business, and hopefully they can get some more locations also.
Well, since the 2023 season concluded, many players filed the paperwork to enter the transfer portal, either in an attempt to better their situation by going up a level or simply just looking for a change of scenery. We won't go through each NSIC team's rosters and speak about all the transfers, but Witt's got definite thoughts about some of the Northern Suns' bigger names who've changed addresses. Witt?
Well, we mentioned Sheen Butler-Lawson earlier, and since spring ball, just this last week, he has entered the portal. Now, the question would be is, at this late in the game, how marketable is he? And I think we're going to find out, but he's getting FCS offers at the moment. I was thinking that there was a real chance that he may get like some group of 5 FBS offers. We'll wait and see, but he's got like a Northern Arizona. I've seen Indiana State. I think Tennessee State was another one. So, if he ends up, moving to that level, certainly something to watch for Northern Sun fans. The question then becomes, he's already had a pretty good career and, been All-American caliber, basically the last 2 seasons. The question is for the Mavs, all of a sudden, how do they, look to replace that production? And, I think that they're feeling pretty good about what they have with Sam Backer as the next guy, who's, I think, the fastest guy on their roster too at running back. But it's going to not be the same type of depth when you have both of them there versus just one of them. So we'll kind of see, but we'll wish him the best if he ends up at the other level. Donald Austin is another name that I kind of wanted to be able to talk about while we're speaking of different names. Now, there's Donald Austin, running back from Southwest Minnesota State, had 900 yards last year. He's gone to Idaho State. Miles West, Minot State running back, had come on quite a bit during the year. He's now at Arkansas Tech, so that's going to be a fairly big blow for them down the GAC. He's from Houston, so he's much closer to home. Also, Isaiah Bigby, you'll remember him, one of the top DBs in the league, safety from Minot. He's getting Division I offers in the portal as we speak. He's getting interest from Idaho, from Ohio, so quite a variety of schools. I also noticed that Mary's top receiver, Travion Dyson, who had 650 yards in 9 games and 8 scores. He's in the portal. So some real noticeable guys, either, all conference or right on the fringe of that could, affect their team quite a bit. I'm sure there's quite a few more, and we'll probably hear about them in the comments, but definitely the portal is going to change the way things go heading forward. Guys are going to be, looking for a new chance or whatever. It may be a new place to prove themselves or see if they can cash in, whatever it may be.
I'm speechless that you failed to mention USF punter Seamus Hall going into the portal, and he ends up at Old Dominion. A punter, your favorite position.
Well, and who's on staff there at Old Dominion? Former
USF head coach John Anderson.
There you go. So, you know what? People remember their guys, and so I get that. So what else do we have going on our docket here, my friend?
There are no new head coaches this year. A year ago at this time, we could tell you that there were 3 new faces coming in, but plenty of coordinator and assistant jobs changed over, if you will. Enlighten us a little bit on some of the big names that we might recognize.
Before I do, trivia question: who were the 3 new coaches last year, head coaches?
Minot.
Oh, that's just name of the team doesn't count. Come on now.
Mary Schillinger. And the third one, for the life of me, Wayne State. No, I don't know.
Jim Glogowski.
Oh, how do I forget? Okay.
That is so perfect right there.
Hey, I'm old.
Glo will be texting you the moment someone tells him about this, because he's not going to watch.
My brain is mush these days.
Well, sometimes. Shan Schillinger, Mary, University of Mary. Ian Shields. At Minot. And so that's Tom Frederick, who didn't know your name there, Coach.
2 out of 3. That ain't bad, Meatloaf.
Well, you got about 1.5 out of 3 because you didn't know his name, and then you forgot the coach that you see the most frequently, which is so bad it's just perfect.
Yeah.
So getting back though to what you were mentioning, assistant coaches. Well, Mr. Schlichty has come back home. You remember he played at Mankato for about 12 years. He was the longtime starter for the Mavs at quarterback. Also was their quarterback when they went to the championship in 2019, the game I was at in Texas, where they came up just short. I think it was 48, 42, something like that. storied career and returns home. I know he's got family there. He's actually from the Mankato area. So Coach Hoffner had been calling the plays. They had not replaced the offensive coordinator position previous to that. So we have Mr. Schlichty first. Great to see him get a chance to go back home. With that, an opening at Northern State, and we have Mr. Jordan Hine. Speaking of guys who were quarterbacks during the mid-teens, Jordan Hine obviously was a star quarterback at Bemidji State. You probably remember him fairly well. You calling the games. USF had a humdinger with them. Came down to the last play on a jet sweep where Cougars were able to come out on top. You probably remember that, don't you?
I do remember that, yes.
Yeah, Mr. Hine, a bit of a dual threat guy. And he is going from the staff of Bemidji, where he had been on basically since his playing days, and is going to be the new play caller there for the Wolves. And then we've also got one that you may not be fully aware of. We've got Jake Rothschiller, who is the new defensive coordinator at Minot State, coming on over from New Mexico, where he was on the top 35 under 35 list. He is going to be calling their defense. He replaced Mike Bruno, who was Ian Shields' defensive coordinator a year ago, who's gone back to the Cal Bears as a linebackers coach. So we've got a few changes right there on coordinators, and that's kind of what we're looking at if we're not talking about head coaches, some of the guys who are calling the offense or the defense. Then from there, we've also got a brand new name for us. Tom, what can you tell us there?
Me? I can tell you that at Winona State, the new play caller, the new OC, is Charlie Cosgrove. He's up from D3. Gustavus Adolphus there in St. Peter, Minnesota. He's going to be the offensive line coach in addition to the coordinator on offense for Coach Bergstrom. And he replaces Isaac Frichte, who's bounced around a number of times in the league, and he got a step up. He's now part of the folks in Grand Forks on the staff of Bubba Schweigert at UND.
Yeah, and for those who aren't fully aware of Charlie, he played back at St. Cloud, and that's been a while now. He's got 14 years experience running an offense. He comes from a squad that was 6-4 a year ago, but they averaged 36 points a game, and the year previous they averaged 40 points a game. Plenty of air attack, 290 yards one season, 330 yards per game another. So I would like to think that he should be able to assist their passing game, which had 16, touchdowns through the air a year ago, but 14 picks, and an offense that averaged 25 points a game. So with Winona having a 5-6 campaign, which is a little bit out of character for them, I think it's a real nice pickup for them. And I know Coach Berge is friends with them, and they've known each other for years. So it seems like it's a very good addition there.
When I showed up at the USF Moorhead game on the 13th of April, there you were, bending the ear of Justin Ingalls, pictured here with Steve Lockway, the coach of MSU Moorhead. Justin Ingalls is the supervisor of officials for the NSIC. You were peppering him up one side, down the other about a new development, the use of instant replay in the Northern Sun. What did Justin have to say about this new development?
Yeah, and so Justin's on the right-hand side, obviously former official in the league for a long time. And the truth is, he actually follows me around the games. I joke with him about that. But he kind of had mentioned here that, we're be expecting something like a 2-camera setup. You're going to have kind of one main shot. And they're also going to have another one that's going to be a camera that'll be, kind of in the end zone area on one side. Now, could some venues have more than that? Certainly. but that's going to be kind of the expectation or bare minimum, at least. Don't expect this to be like replay on television or anything fancy like that. The spirit of this is really to attempt to help in situations where the camera may be able to help clear up a ruling on a big score at the end of a game, or maybe somebody inbounds or out of bounds on a really big play at the end of a game. I think the real thing where this is going to get used for, maybe more than anything, will be to review targeting calls. Because this is going to be able to help kind of adjudicate the infraction right at the point that it happens, and be able to see, does a player need to be kicked out for the rest of a half or not? Is going to be a 15-yard penalty and a first down? Those are huge judgments, and this will be able to really help with that. They should have a tent that will be kind of beyond the end zone, where they will be able to go ahead in game and review calls. Now, this has been in other top leagues for the last season already. So I'm used to watching it on other games when I kind of spin around the dial in D2. So I was a little bit surprised the coaches didn't go ahead with this the year previous when they had a chance to. Matter of fact, I may have given them some of them a hard time about that. But it's better late than never, and I think it can only help. But just kind of temper your expectations. This is not going to be something where they're going to have a whole bunch of cameras and be able to try and find the key shot. That's not how this is going to be.
All right. My expectations have been tempered. Consider that a foregone conclusion. Now, league fans can expect a number of new matchups come fall. August, no less. We will see some eye-opening contests thanks to Week 0 legislation. Tell us all about it, a wise one.
Yeah, I'm loving the fact that Week 0 is going to now be a thing. We're going to have some great games. Matter of fact, Week 0, right out of the chute, Thursday night, we're going to have Mankato at Northwest Missouri State. I'm going to go down to the game. I'm going to make a weekend of it down there in the Kansas City area. And on Saturday, I'm going to see Ferris State go into Pitt State, which right now, the 4 teams we've just mentioned could be in the top 10, top 15 at the worst nationally at the first poll. So it's great to see these type of teams getting the chance to play non-conference games. We've been wanting this for so long. So this is in my mind just tremendous. Now you're also going to have, in that same opening few weeks, we're going to have Augustana traveling to South Dakota State. I plan on going to that game also. I want to be able to take in a game there, but I also, want to go ahead and see a Northern Sun team compete there against the Jacks. Northern State is going to go ahead and travel down to the Dome and play against USD. I applaud these teams for going ahead and taking these games. And then USF is going to go, Week 0 and go play at St. Thomas in Minnesota. Obviously, that's going to game that you're going to be attending. What are your thoughts about that one? Because those, I think, are probably the ones that really jump off the page the most.
Looking forward to it. I think last year, didn't St. Thomas play Black Hills?
They did. That was early in the year, and Black Hills hung around with them for a good portion of that football game.
Yeah, Coach Golagowski's got a relationship with the coach at St. Thomas, Glenn Caruso. They were together at USD back in the day, so that's how this came about. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I think this slate is fantastic. Now, the Augustana game and the Northern game, those are probably games where they're pretty measurable, underdogs. Sioux Falls and St. Thomas, I think Sioux Falls has got a fighting chance in that one. It'll be interesting to see, in year 2, what squad, Coach Glow puts out there. Mankato and Northwest Missouri State, I think, is probably a coin flip game, and one that a lot of people will be really interested to see right out of the gate.
Well, I think our time is about run out. Should do it for our spring cleanup on NSIC Football. It's a trip to California for me, followed by a summer of bike riding, golf, more free throws, and more book reading. I sure hope Bally Sports North and the cable providers in our area reach a settlement soon, or it's going to be a long 5 months with no Twins baseball on TV. So that's me. That's for me. My my immediate future. What's the summer of 2024 look like for the Witwicky clan?
Well, I'll tell you right now, when you talk about baseball, I'm enjoying watching the Cubs. After having a championship year in 16, they kind of have slowly fallen off, and now they're rebuilding to the point where I think that they have a real chance to win a division. So it's fun to watch them. My son Wyatt is very involved in baseball. Him and his Harrisburg squad, and then my son Brett has had a heck of an 8th grade year. He's had 2 knee surgeries, one on each knee, and he has come through it like a total trooper. And he's looking to go ahead and do some workouts and get ready for some football come the fall. So we're going to be pretty busy ourselves.
Aren't you heading back to the old hometown here pretty quick too?
We are. We're going to be going to a Cubs game in about 2 weeks, and the boys are going to get a chance to have their first visit in Chicago. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that.
I'm a Bud man and a Cub fan. I can assure you now.
Absolutely.
Thanks for your time and interest, everybody, in Northern Sun Conference football. Rest assured, we will be back in August for season 3 of America's most popular, fastest growing, and super informative small college football podcast. Did I say that right?
I like that.
For Matt Witwicky, this is Tom Frederick. You've been watching NSIC Weekly from D2Football.com. So long.